Hi guys, this is Aga, and today I would like to present you a paper I published in GBR on ships and relationships, which particularly speaks to this determinants of networks. And here, something that we'll be talking about proximities, so something that essentially contributes to shape networks. I would delve into a research question that is about technological proximity, so essentially whether a firm is dealing with competitors or not, geographical proximity, so whether the same firm is dealing with local versus distant partners, and how their interplay, so interrelationship, is essentially shaping the network structure of the firm in the new collaborations. This is all taking place in shipbroking industry. So I focus on this middleman that sits in between the two parties. On the one hand side, he matches ship owners or operators. On the other, he can even have some shippers, so actually owners of products. So what is this study and how I crafted it? It's a mixed method paper, meaning that I used quantitative and qualitative data in this study. So let me first essentially unpack what the quant part is. So I received proprietary information from a single brokerage company from Copenhagen on 184 transactions essentially during their lifetime between 13 and 15. They were finalized by 7 brokers that were employed in the company, which is a mid-sized company, and also 52 buyers. And as I mentioned, these buyers can be from the shipping industry, so ship operators or owners, but also cargo owners or shippers, right? So this resulted, if we think in terms of network, in 81 ties of employees and buyers. I supplemented this information and my theorizing with qualitative interviews with some of these brokers, company CEOs, but I also interviewed competitive brokers, shipping firms, and even an industry association. So, what came out of my interviews? First, on the geographical proximity. Um, well, um, Essentially, we only have this one person that gives the leads to us. That is very much on relationships and can be also on local relationships. So they also pointed out to the technological proximities. So sometimes there is a need to deal with a competitive broker in order to get to a final party. However, in terms of geographical and technological proximities, is that the brokers simply have to go outside of their comfort zone and not only look for shipping parties, but maybe also outside of the industries. So there is an interesting thing about this, geographical and technological proximity. So they have very frequent historic relations locally with shipping parties, sometimes with competitors as well. But then they get scarcer and scarcer the further away you go with the industry. You can have a look at the regression table, which I used to model my quant data. But I would like to sort of spell out the results and then also the industry and theoretical implications of my study now in terms of the quant part. So, actually, contrary to what the literature said, brokers are not necessarily more likely to deal only with local buyers. So, that means that the geographical distance is not really preventing them from collaborating, right? They are actually, based on a collaboration pattern, they will be also likely to get more deals or more collaborations with parties other than competitive brokers, meaning that they might be avoiding competition. That also makes sense. They want to have direct access to the shipping parties or cargo owners, actually, specifically. So that was something that they emphasized. So the technological proximity actually does not contribute to relations, right? So this is an interesting and challenging to the finding to the literature. So who are they then most likely to collaborate with then? They're actually likely to do so with shipping parties and cargo owners across the industries if they are not local, right? So interesting. So if um, we have no geographical and no technological proximity that increases the likelihood of collaboration. However, what happens in terms of competitive brokers? So here we have very high technological proximity, And I found that the collaboration with such competitive brokers, it is actually more likely in case of local brokers. And why is it so? Because we have the cluster where the different companies simply cooperate and compete. A quick view of the network that I constructed based on the different transactions, and we'll be soon going to the industry implications, meaning, what can the industry players learn from my study. So actually, I can tell the brokers that there's essentially a premium for them for seeking out the opportunities and collaborations very much on their own. So contacting directly people who are outside of shipping, outside of Copenhagen, even outside of Europe, and the same goes for cargo owners of shippers, right? So this is in particularly true for the buyers outside of Europe. And actually, another thing is also in terms of shipping other parties other than shipping, essentially. So, in terms of theory implications, yes, I tapped into this sort of interplay of proximities literature, and I find that it's not always best to have, a sort of accumulation of proximities to formulations, and also it's not always good to have a single proximity either, right? I find that in some cases, like with the competitive brokers, so high technological proximity, the geographical proximity, however, can help. So thank you for listening. That was my paper, and see you in the classroom.